applaud Sumaira for what she has done. I really appreciate what you're doing, Sumaira, and
Thank you.
how you have found the correct balance in homeschooling. Because there are very many parents who do come to me and talk about homeschooling, and when they talk about homeschooling, their reasons are varied, and I do ask them about the social emotional connect and the social emotional interaction. And I do ask them that how do you intend your child to learn to respect 25 varied points of view if your child is not going to be interacting with a cohesive class. How is, because education is not only about getting that certificate at the end of
Yeah,
x
right.
number of years, but it is a journey which teaches you to respect somebody else's point of view, which teaches you discipline, uh, that okay, for 40 minutes I have to listen to this person, I have to ask a question if there is a doubt in my mind, and sometimes I might get the answer that I'm seeking, and sometimes I might not get the answer that I am looking for. So there are many, there is this EQ, IQ, SQ, which, so a human being is a sum of EQ, IQ, and SQ. So how does one take care of the EQ and SQ? That is my question to parents who come to me uh, with pertaining to homeschooling. And if they can give me an answer to that, then they are good to go. And if they cannot, then they need to think about it. And I think you've struck a good balance between the EQ and the SQ along with the IQ. That is the reason it's working for you. And God bless your son. And I'm sure he's going to do very well in whatever he sets out to do.
I hope so too.
Yeah, he will. He will. You are the wind beneath his wings, and he will.
Thank you.
Another thing that I would also like to appreciate what you said, and I keep on telling my teachers this, that today school or the teacher or any of us, we are not the primary source of information, because today information is freely available. Our responsibility as teachers is to interpret the information. It's not imparting the information. That is the difference in the
Very
teacher
well said.
today and the teacher of yesterday. The teacher of yesterday, where we grew up, we did not have avenues for gathering information. Today, there are multiple avenues for gathering information. It is a collated information which is interpreted by teachers. It is not imparting information.
True. True.
And information becomes knowledge only if it is interpreted. Otherwise, information remains as information.
Right.
It doesn't become knowledge.
Yeah.
So these are few of the things that I picked up from your talk, and what Anu had told me to speak about virtual learning, online learning. Today, it's all homeschooling. If you go to see today, each and every individual is homeschooling. There are those limited hours that are devoted to online learning. Rest, you are at home. And I feel that, okay, the pandemic is, every situation has its pros and cons. The pandemic also comes with its pros and cons. The cons being, okay, lives are being lost. There is an economic meltdown. Yes, it's there. But let's look at the pros. We never connected like we are now. We never indulged in retrospection like we are now. We never thought of exploring like we are doing so now. And the biggest pro I feel is that parents have started to value the teaching community. Somewhere there was a breakdown in excuse me, somewhere there was a breakdown in where uh, the teaching community had somewhere got a lot of battering from the parents in the past few years. That is because of the new age schools, that is because of the new age parenting. But now I do observe that yes, there is a there is a kind of a reversal where the parents have realized that it's not easy tutoring your child at home. It's not easy keeping your child engaged. The child was away from home for a minimum of 4 to a maximum of 7 hours of their waking hours, which gave the parent a good enough window to be with themselves and to do what they wanted to do. But now the child is right there. So the parent doesn't have that kind of window with themselves. So the parent has also realized that, okay, now how do I keep my child engaged? So there is this entire where the parent is resisting the online learning, but at the same time feeling the need that no, we need this, we need the engagement. Otherwise, if we are looking at a pandemic which is going to stretch for we don't know how long, because school is going to be the last uh, avenue or the last business to open up, because we've got children over here who are the most vulnerable. Children are vulnerable, adults are vulnerable, because if a child gets impacted by the pandemic, he's going to take the pandemic home, he's going to take the virus home. And at home, then there are going to be so many other people who are going to be impacted. Therefore, school is the last organization which is going to be opening up. So for first 3 months, every situation has a honeymoon period. So for the first 3 months, everything was hunky dory. Everything was okay, khul jayega, it will happen. Now, when they realize that the virus is here to stay for we don't know how long, is it till, because every month we get a month's extension. So where first we were looking at August, then it became September, then it became October. Now they're saying not before Jan. That's when parents started realizing that yes, how long can the disengagement continue? When we are talking about disengagement, we are talking about cognitive disengagement, social disengagement. How long is it going to continue? So this is where we as educationists, as teachers, were saying that first survive. Learning will happen. When the mind is relaxed, only then will learning kick in. So for where we were saying that you need to first keep yourself safe, keep your child safe. When I say safe, when we as the teaching community say safe, it's not only safe physically, but safe emotionally. That was more important, because these are uncertain times. Children get scared, especially when the news 24 by 7 is giving only negative news, the news channels. Children get impacted. They get emotionally, there are emotional upheavals when you're listening to thousands dying, lakhs dying, and across age groups. That is where the fear comes in. So first we were telling our parents that, okay, first protect your children from, protect them emotionally from the news that they are listening to. And then we'll talk about learning. Learning isn't going anywhere. Schools are not going anywhere. Concepts are not going anywhere. First, you need to protect your children. Once that happens, only then will we step in as teachers. So now that we've stepped in as teachers, there are reasons why learning, online learning is important. It had to happen. Albeit with a lot of resistance, but it had to happen. We did not want cognitive dissonance to come in because we don't know how long the pandemic is going to stay. We cannot allow children to not be cognitively stimulated, intellectually stimulated. There has to be stimulation. We don't want a disconnect between the previous learning and the future learning. We don't want that gap to be there. Fine, we will promote the child from grade 5 to grade 6, grade 6 to grade 7. We won't take exams. That is what happened. But that is only on paper. That we will not take exams. We will promote all the children to the next grade as it is. But that's on paper. But what happens to the learning? That is not on paper. That's not tangible. What is tangible is my report card. So we'll take care of that. Don't worry. Your child will get promoted. But what happens to the learning? Because curriculum is spirally advancing. If there is a disconnect or if there is a gap in the previous year's learning, it is going to impact the next year's learning. So therefore, we don't want that happening. So that is the reason where learning has to happen. Let it be for a small time, for a limited period of time. So we started with 30 minutes, went on to 45 minutes, to an hour and 15 minutes, and maximum that we as educationists recommend. That's what we told the government also. Maximum that we recommend is 3.5 hours for the older grade. We are not saying 7 hours of schooling. Because even in a school, if the child is in a school for 5, 6 or 7 hours, it's not 7 hours of learning. It's not possible. So the learning component is 50% because there are breaks. Okay, there are breaks which are official, which the school gives. Then there are unofficial breaks, which the child takes. The loo break, the water break. This is the break the child takes. The break that is there, invariably, physically the child is sitting in class, but mentally he is not in class. So those are the breaks that the child takes. Then there are co-curricular subjects. Not all are scholastic subjects. There are non-scholastic subjects also. So in a day, the cognitive learning is for 3.5 hours, where we are talking about the core subject. So that is what we recommend. That the school shouldn't be for more than 3.5 hours with a 15-minute break after every 45 minutes. Because children need that kind of break where they need to get up, they need to walk around, they need to drink, they need to eat, because when you're studying, when you're learning, there is a lot of drain, mental drain that's happening. And the child does need to keep on munching on something, getting up and going to the loo, or just getting up and doing nothing. That's when your positive hormones kick in, because there is a depletion of concentration levels. So once we started off with this, and we did see that there is a lot of benefit for the child, because there is something that the child is going to look forward to. As Sumaira said, that there has to be routine, there has to be discipline. So if there is no routine, there is no discipline, the child will not have something to look forward to. Initially, it is very exciting, nothing to look forward to. I can sleep at whatever time I want. I can get up at whatever time I want. I can do what I want at whatever time I want. But after some time, your mind and body, it doesn't feel very happy about the nothingness. The nothingness needs to have, there has to be food for thought, food for soul, food for the body. There needs to be something, that some stimuli has to be provided so that the body can function, the mind can function. So initially everything was very nice, and then children and parents both came forward and said that we need this kind of engagement. Now the benefit of homeschooling, the benefit now, it's everything is homeschooling. What Sumaira started off, everybody is doing that. Only it is guided homeschooling over here at the moment.
True.
Yeah, so actually it is the same thing, only it's
It is.
guided now. There is somebody telling you what is to be done.
Yeah, true, true.
So what is the benefit over here? The parent is, which is a benefit also, and which is also a spoke in the wheel. The parent is constantly right there to assist the child. The parent is very much aware of the learning milestones of the child, which otherwise was always the responsibility of the school, where anything going wrong, the child hasn't understood a particular concept. The school was at loggerheads, the parents are at loggerheads with the school that my child is not understanding this. But now the parent is right there. If the child is not understanding, now it is a 50-50 partnership, which should have always been there. Now the parent is as responsible for the child's learning as the school is, because the parent is right there sitting with the child and helping him navigate the learning, which should have always been there. But because there was a disconnect now, somewhere this, as I said, the every situation has its pros and cons. So this is the biggest benefit of this guided homeschooling, if I may call it so, where the parent is right there trying to navigate the learning environment for the child. The parent is right there trying to understand how to disseminate this concept, how to break it down into smaller chunks so that my child will be able to understand. Another thing that the benefit, and I see this here to stay, because as I said, the how long the schools are going to be shut, we do not know. Because every country, as soon as they're opening up, their number of cases are surging. So we do not know how long we are going to be under lockdown, at least the schools. So since they are here to stay, children are taking responsibility for their learning. First, the discipline was coming from the school, that sit straight, focus, complete your work. Now it is self-discipline. Now the child is sitting in front of the device and he has to focus because it's almost become one-on-one. The teacher is in her space, the 25, 30 children are in their space, and it is almost one-on-one because the child is all by himself. Correct. Only thing that is not going down well is the social disconnect. Children enjoy their canteen time. Children enjoy the backslapping time. They enjoy the mini break between one teacher going and the other teacher coming. And then there's such a ruckus in the class when the teacher is not there. They all get together. They play some pranks. They crack some silly jokes because that's de-stressing for them. They find their own ways and means of de-stressing, their own ways and means of transitioning from one subject to the other. That is not there, which we feel very bad for our children, because now the teacher is watching each and every child like a hawk, because I can see everybody sitting in that virtual classroom, okay, and observe every child. So the child is, so this is where we feel bad for them. Another thing that we feel bad as teachers for our children is when they want to show off their work. At any age, human mind likes to show off because there's gratification. You get that appreciation. You get that physical at any age, even if you're doing your masters. If the teacher gives you a tick over there, that is what gives you that excitement. Success begets success. Now the child is not getting that physical stars. The child is not getting that very good written over there, or the child is not getting any kind of gratification which is physical. So those are the things that we feel bad for. when we see our children over there, though we are very happy to see our children sitting over there, listening to us, trying to contribute, but that physical teachers want children uh, to be sitting right in front of them. We want to hear the cacophony that children can create in the corridors. We want to hear the gong of that bell. We want to hear the teacher, may I come in? We want to see our children taking those water breaks when we are asking a question. And then suddenly they realize, oh, I don't know this answer, so I might as well drink water. I'll be busy, teacher won't look at me. We want to see children drop their pen on the floor and try to pick it up just when teacher is going past, checking whether you've done the homework. So these are the little things that we as teachers also miss. But what is gratifying on the other hand is the self-study and the self-research that our children are now indulging in, because they're getting that much more time to do that. What also is gratifying to see is the discipline, the self-discipline when it comes to gadgets. Because now they are sitting in front of a gadget for maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. So that is a gainful engagement. So there is lesser engagement when it comes to them because they're saturated. They've had their fill of gadgets. So they really don't need the television to satisfy them anymore. So there are a whole lot of things where we are enjoying with our children and where we feel that we want this to get over also, because we want to hear that teacher I, miss I, here that thing is not there. And teaching is one field which is completely human based. There is nothing else, it's just the child and you. There's nothing else in between there. So yes, there are positives to online learning, and there are I won't say negatives, but it does there is a disconnect also which we are trying to fill in. Not only not only cognitive disconnects, but the PE sessions are not there, the music sessions are not there, the art and craft is not there. Though we have found as a school, as a company, we have found our own ways of conducting PE sessions, Zumba, debates. We have also conducted debates because children need to speak up. It's not possible for them to just keep on listening to their teacher. They need to have debates, they need to have discussions. We have also conducted art classes, and kudos to our art team. They have done an entire virtual art session, a virtual music session, Zumba, PE, yoga. So everything is happening. Not that learning is not happening, but yes, there is a disconnect, and there is also a possibility, another fear, not a fear, the possibility of children, some of the children enjoying online or enjoying the guided homeschooling so much that they might never come back to school because they are enjoying this. So there is that kind of, I won't call it a fear, but there are chances that this could also happen. The biggest segment that has suffered is the segment of preschool and early primary school. That's the segment which has really suffered. Though again, it is not fair for us as teachers to ignore that segment, because those are the building block years. Those are the years where the future learning is going to be there. So that is something that we need to address it more aggressively. But again, having said that, it's a good time for parents to get into what Sumaira was saying. There is a technical term to what she was trying to say, that cross curricular connects. Now is the time for parents to get into cross curricular connects, and as a school, we are sending ideas for cross curricular connects. For example, suggesting parents to engage children in cooking activities, no gas cooking. So if they're making nimbu pani, the first thing that they're learning is miscible and immiscible material. Sugar will dissolve in a glass of water, though it will take some time, but it will dissolve. Okay, so science experiments can be conducted. So though as a school we may or may not be able to engage them all the time, but giving them ideas for cross curricular connect. So when we are talking about math, so we do tell parents that, okay, let the child, if you've got vegetables, 500 grams of this, 1 kg of that, 250 grams of that, let the child add up everything and let us know what the sum total is. So there is a cross-curricular connect that we are trying to build online, and this online is a boon because it is allowing us to create those cross-curricular connects. So if the pandemic has happened, tracing back the history of the Spanish flu, writing an essay on it, finding out the scientific reasons. So that's the cross-curricular connect that we have created for parents, and where parents are helping children to get into research. So these are the benefits, and this is how we as teachers have recreated and navigated the curriculum so that we make it palatable and easier for our main stakeholders, that is the parent and the children.
Wow.
So I think I will stop over here. Once I start talking, then my sleep flies away and I can talk till kingdom comes. So I think I will stop over here.
We have a question for you, but we will pick that up at the end of all the three speakers speaking, because I want them to complete what they have to, and so that all the questions come together. So Teji will address your question right at the end. I'm just, thank you so much, Sheetal. I learned a lot today because my kids have grown up, and I don't have to be going through this. My son is already 27 and my daughter is almost 24. So though she's still studying in a college, they haven't completed her dissertation, but it feels like, yeah, this is not what is impacting me. So I'm really, really grateful because it gives me insight into everything that is going on right now. So I really, really thank you again. And I would urge you to wait and ask your sleep to wait for a little while more. And next we go from 25 years of experience. Sheetal, I would like you to tell people what you do.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what I do, I've done my master's in child development. So as Anu mentioned, that we are childhood buddies in the sense that we did our 11th till MSc together.
Yes.
So that was quite a time span. So having done my master's in child development, I'm completely immersed in creating age-appropriate curriculum, training teachers, and also looking into the differential learning needs of children who require them, creating individual education plans for them, and guiding counselors into observation and therapies for children if required, while also looking into career counseling for children. So anything to do with the academic, the social, emotional, and intellectual needs of the children from 2 years to 16 years.
Thank you so much, because you're so qualified, and I've never asked people to tell about their qualifications, but we are having education over here, and there are people who could benefit by your services. So I thought it would be nice if you tell people what you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to the next.